Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
All right, we're watching the radar for you this afternoon and the skies as meteorologist Paul Gross tracks the occasional shower moving through. We'll tell you when you might need those umbrellas. Sean.
Evrod, good afternoon, everyone. We're live in Detroit waiting for the Wayne County Sheriff to come brief us after one of his off-duty corrections officers is shot and killed. What our cameras captured at the scene of the crime coming up next.
But first, Pfizer has announced that its COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective for children ages 5 to 11. That story tops our news here at noon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Evrod Cassimy. This news from Pfizer should get the attention of parents everywhere, and it comes as pediatric COVID cases are soaring across the country. Gabe Gutierrez has more.
Pfizer says its COVID vaccine is effective in children ages 5 to 11. The first of its kind trial for this age group included more than 2,000 kids and concluded the vaccine is safe, well tolerated, and showed robust neutralizing antibody responses. The children were given a smaller dose than the current vaccine used for those 12 and older. Pfizer says it'll now submit the data to the FDA for emergency use authorization. Potentially pivotal news as pediatric COVID cases in the U.S. have jumped by 240% since July. New York City schools opened just a week ago.
And within 4 days, we have 812 positive cases, over 600 classroom closures, and one entire school building already closed.
In South Carolina, COVID cases have soared from 150 a day to more than 5,000. Schools and even entire districts there going virtual. And in Philadelphia, 5 schools have already closed.
And I always tell you, this is the new norm.
Also, more confusion over boosters after an FDA advisory panel voted Friday to recommend third shots only for people 65 and older, or those with underlying conditions. The Biden administration had previously said a booster rollout for most Americans could begin today, but the FDA hasn't signed off.
I think people were not understanding the difference of planning for something and actually what element of that, what proportion of it you're actually going to roll out.
But while the vaccine and booster debates ramp up, healthcare workers in the Northwest, like those at Multicare Deaconess Hospital in Spokane, Washington, are battling their most dire COVID surge yet.
Over the weekend, 3 patients died in this ICU within 24 hours. And right now, this hospital is denying more than half of its patient transfer requests from out of state.
It's insane. It is very, very hard as healthcare workers to say no to patients.
And that was Gabe Gutierrez reporting. Let's talk about what's going on here at home. We're expecting new school outbreak data this afternoon, as well as updated case numbers. And of course, we'll have that for you here on Local 4. And now to some breaking news just into the Local 4 newsroom. The White House will ease travel restrictions to foreign visitors who are vaccinated against COVID-19. Non-citizens visiting the United States will have to show proof of vaccination. The changes will take effect in early November. President Joe Biden will also tighten testing rules for unvaccinated Americans who will need to be tested a day before returning to the U.S. and after they arrive home. Right now, the Wayne County Sheriff's Office is investigating the deadly shooting of an off-duty corrections officer killed in Detroit. Let's send things out to our Sean Lay, who joins us now live this afternoon with a look at what we're learning. Sean.
We're learning a lot more. That's the undersheriff of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, Mike Jafar, briefing us right now. We'll be heading over there to see what he has to say. Here's what we've learned so far this morning, however, from the Sheriff's Office. We're talking about an off-duty corrections officer from the Wayne County Jail. His name is Devontae Jones. I can tell you Devontae was well known and well loved in his Detroit community. He was only 23 years old, and again, a corrections officer with Wayne County. Off duty very early this morning. The Sheriff's Office tells us Officer Jones was dropping someone off at the apartments on East Forest and the Chrysler Service Drive. You'll see a black Dodge Durango in your video. That's Jones' SUV. We could see several bullet holes in the door of that Durango, and shots also were fired into a woman's black Impala. Officer Jones tried to get away from the person shooting. He ran from the area but was later found. And he died of those gunshot wounds at 4:48 this morning at Detroit Receiving Hospital. We're also expected to get an update from Detroit Police. They're the agency handling this homicide case. We'll have much more coming up at 5 o'clock. What the Sheriff's Office has to say. The people who love Devontae Jones for sure, and Detroit Police are now looking for a killer. Back to you.
Oh, such a tragedy. Sean, thank you for the update there. Also making headlines this afternoon, police say a body discovered Sunday in Wyoming is believed to be Gabby Potito. The cause of death has not been determined just yet, but you might remember Potito disappeared while on a cross-country trek with her fiancé, who has been identified as a person of interest. The FBI searched his family's home today in Northport, Florida, and authorities are currently searching for him. Turning our attention now to the forecast on your Monday afternoon. We want to give you a live look outside there through our sky cam. Meteorologist Paul Gross in for Brandon this afternoon. And Paul, what are we in for?
Well, we're in for a fairly pleasant afternoon, but there will be some scattered showers. Metro Airport has just jumped up to 78 degrees, so our forecast high near 80 degrees is looking on track. Southeast wind at 10 miles per hour. As you can see on Storm Tracker 4, we don't have a whole lot going on. A few little sprinkles, a couple little splash and dashes, really nothing of any consequence. If we slide the map northward, you can see that down to the south, again, just still scattered, very light stuff. So we're just looking at perhaps a scattered shower or two this afternoon. Not a whole lot of activity, but you've probably heard we have a potential flooding event possible for the middle part of the week. So coming up in about 10 minutes, we're going to break this down into three very easy to understand aspects. We have the rain in terms of the timing. When will we get the most rain? We're going to take a look at the rain in terms of how much are we going to get in what period of time, and then also temperatures. We're going to have quite a change in temperatures. You'll be shocked by the time you see what it feels like out there on Wednesday afternoon. So we'll talk about all of that coming up in great detail in about 10 minutes. But don't forget, the Local Forecasters app has everything you need to know, and most importantly, real-time radar. You can keep an eye on this rain as it comes in and make your plans accordingly. It's free in the App Store. Just search under WDIV. See you back here in a few, Evrod.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. Let's turn our attention now to the stock market and take a look at the big board there. Stocks began this week deeply in the red as investors continue to move to the sidelines. These are live pictures of the big board for you this afternoon. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has lost more than 600 points and is set for its biggest one-day drop since July 19th. The S&P 500 fell 1.5%. The NASDAQ Composite dropped 1.8%. One of many reasons for the sell-off is high COVID cases due to the Delta variant. In Washington now, time is running short for Democrats to pass key parts of President Biden's agenda. On their to-do list, passing an infrastructure bill and a much larger social spending plan. All this while trying to keep the government from shutting down and defaulting on the national debt. Chris Ballone has all the details.
Democrats are projecting confidence that they can advance President Biden's domestic agenda while keeping the federal government open. But with their razor-thin margins on Capitol Hill, it's not clear how they're going to do that. For congressional Democrats hoping to deliver President Biden some key legislative victories, it's crunch time.
This is an astounding workload. We have so many issues in September, including reconciliation, including debt limit, including spending by the government.
As leadership tries to keep all Democrats on board to pass a bipartisan $1 trillion infrastructure improvement bill and a separate $3.5 trillion package of tax and spending priorities, a fight with Republicans to keep the government open and to raise the nation's debt limit appears to be intensifying.
Let me be crystal clear about this. Republicans are united in opposition to raising the debt ceiling.
Congress has raised the nation's debt ceiling more than 75 times since 1960. It allows the federal government to finance spending already passed. In a letter to colleagues Sunday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi quoted experts who warned letting the nation default on its debt would be a catastrophe.
The position that Republicans, primarily Senator Mitch McConnell, have taken is totally irresponsible.
But Republicans see it as a way to send a message that they're not on board with Democrats' big budget spending priorities.
This time, Democrats want to increase the debt ceiling for their reconciliation bill, which they're passing on a party line basis.
Congress must also pass a spending bill by month's end to avert a government shutdown. This week, House Democrats are poised to introduce a bill which would keep the federal government open at least until early December. A measure to raise the debt ceiling could be part of that bill. In Washington, Chris Ballone, NBC News.
Turning now to Texas and a growing crisis on the border. Nearly 15,000 Haitian migrants, all seeking asylum here in the U.S., have led to these stunning videos of them packed underneath a border bridge. Many of those people seeking to escape poverty and hunger in their home countries. Over the weekend, the Department of Homeland Security started deporting some of them back to Haiti, and more flights are expected. Closer to home, though, policymakers are in Mackinac Island for the Detroit Regional Chamber's Mackinac Policy Conference. It started today after being pushed back because of the coronavirus. It's usually held in the spring, and this is video from an event in the past before the pandemic. There is a mandatory vaccine requirement for anybody attending and a mask mandate for indoor meetings on the island. About 1,300 people are expected at the conference. So to come here on Local 4 News at noon, detained Metro Detroit journalist Danny Fenster appeared in a Myanmar court. We'll tell you what happened at the hearing when we come back.